Okay, so it should be all set now.
Paul, are you here?
Yes, I already spoke to her. Yes.
Okay.
I don't see. Oh, now I see you guys on the screen. I've been trying to fool around with it for this last 45 minutes. I don't know what I have to do.
Have you tried standing on your head?
Yeah. It's so frustrating. I was gonna delete the app, but then I was nervous I wasn't gonna get back on, and like restarting it, but that's okay.
Okay, and Lucy is here for minutes. So, Brian, do you start things off?
Well, I guess we do roll call, so we've kind of done roll call, but Brian Green, and then call the meeting to order.
Paul Machado.
Robert Sixia.
So for the purpose of the minutes, we started the meeting at 6:01. Close
I
enough.
second that.
Approval of the minutes.
I second that.
There you go. Sorry, I'm just pulling up the minutes now.
Yeah, there was a tiny typo in the second to last bullet on the first page. There's multiple pay agencies. I think that's probably a small immaterial thing that can be corrected. So.
You got that? Okay. After approval of the minutes, moving on to HHS updates. Oh yeah, thanks. You're on.
Hi. So I know I met initially when I came on, so I'm Kelly Highland, Deputy Director of Public Health. I'm here filling in for Karen Carroll while she's away. So I have some updates that she sent me and a few that I'll add on myself. So a couple of staffing updates. So we have offered the position to our youth coordinator that sits under Nancy Bacci's department in Human Services. A geriatric social worker starts next week with our COA folks. We have interviews for our youth manager and our mental health manager currently underway. And we have, City Council has approved a second case manager to help with the increased demands a caseload that one of our case managers has is about 60 to 70 individuals. So we're really trying to be able to respond to folks. So that was approved by City Council, and that will be posted as soon as possible. Council on Aging was awarded some ARPA funds to help improve the equipment to make it more accessible in their building. More in terms of like furniture, tables, chairs, that sort of thing. We are, I just scheduled a meeting with our community stakeholders that do like a SNAP enrollment or interface with folks that are looking for SNAP benefits. The federal allocations, the emergency allocations that happened with COVID, their last payment was March 2nd. So moving forward, they will not be provided an additional amount of money with their SNAP benefits. So there's been some background work that our Office of Food Access and Healthy Communities have been working on since the summer, really trying to understand the resources that are in our community and also the barriers to why we do have a kind of a large SNAP gap in Somerville. So really trying to focus on closing that SNAP gap, which is the number of folks that are eligible and the number of folks that are enrolled is is large. So we're trying to close that. So get people as newly enrolled individuals, but also there's going to be re-enrollment process as well with SNAP that we want to make sure people maintain their benefits and maximize their benefits as well. So we have a community stakeholder meeting in a couple of weeks to really kind of understand what that landscape looks like and how the city of Somerville and HHS can really support our like nonprofits and things to improve, you know, really help folks in the community maximize their SNAP benefits. And along with that is we have our Mass Health redetermination happening. So during COVID, the re-enrollment for Mass Health was more automatic. So now there's going to be re-enrollment. Some folks might be no longer eligible that will be getting, apologies, there's a car alarm going off outside, may be no longer eligible. So kind of really working, again, similar stakeholders along with our SNAP folks on understanding what that looks like. We also, I'll be attending a redetermination webinar that the state's putting on, really focusing on our homeless population as well next week, as well as how to become a Mass Health provider is the right word, but a Mass Health liaison in the community too. Any questions about that? Because I know it's kind of a complex and challenging issue that we're facing.
Yeah, I think it's here that's on your radar. You know, I think I mentioned a few times, and yeah, it's going to be very disruptive in May once, you know, that deadline hits. Yeah, I think the priority is obviously ensuring they on Mass Health,
Yeah.
pointing them to the right resources. Just it's a struggle to you know, understand where they can go for help, that they don't have to be alone, that there's customer support, although customer support can be difficult at times, you know, with Mass Health. So it's important they start early, but they can also go to walk-in sites as well, you know, all around the Boston area. If they feel adept to it, encouraging people to go on the connector, right? I think they can do that as well. Yeah, and then next is like, yeah, SNAP gap would be great to close, but then there's that like SNAP shortfall that people are going to have, even though they're on, yeah, all stuff that you've addressed. And I think it's just, it's great to hear that it's on your radar. I guess, you know, I'd like to know, like, what resources do you guys need? You know, what can we do to at least like advise or, you know, assist in any way?
Yeah, thank you. I think we'll probably have a little bit more like problem solving to do after we meet with the stakeholders to really kind of understand what the barriers that they are facing are. I think a lot of it is from our folks in the Office of Food Access who really work with this, it's not really the enrollment piece, it's almost like the follow-up piece. So once they kind of enroll, especially for SNAP, I'm speaking for, once folks enroll, then there's this follow-up piece that DTA would reach out to the individual. And so that's kind of where a lot of folks fall off, whether it's phone numbers change, emails, language issues, that it's almost that follow-up piece. And so that's where I think we might try to target some of our resources, whether we engage with our Medical Reserve Corps volunteers to help make reminder phone calls or do a benefits fair. We're really trying to think creatively, as well as engaging our communications department to, the state has put together like a toolkit and campaign. So really like collaborate. So we're all sending the same message. You know, we have our Cambridge Health Alliance, our Project Soup, like all of our folks kind of saying the same thing. So that's kind of what I envision for the goal of the stakeholder meeting too.
Okay. And just to inquire a little bit on the SNAP eligibility like process and, you know, the follow-ups that aren't, you know, just being completed. Do you think that's a result of just like, you know, is it the administrative burden people has, or is there something deeper like language barriers? You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, just understanding what, you know, I know you guys are
Right.
still researching into this. So.
Right. Yeah, from the information that's been gathered by OFAC it's kind of all of the above. A lot of it is that like admin burden. And, you know, if we only have just an HHS, this one case manager that needs to do some follow-up. And especially we know our nonprofits are so strapped with resources and funding so that's kind of like an area where I think there could be some needs improvement where the city can perhaps help or reach out to our state folks, DTA, to see if we could get support, whether we have a liaison come to the city to do a workshop or to really kind of educate folks like, hey, you're not done with this process, be expecting this call, like, you know, that whole thing.
Yeah, no, understood, but yeah, I'm happy to hear it's, you know, a priority and on the agenda, and, you know, I think that'll, you know, it's just so beneficial to so many people to have at least some semblance of like food security and, you know, obviously access to care with Mass Health. So,
yes. Yep, definitely. And I'm happy to send along like a couple of those webinars if folks were interested in learning more. The administration is, I think it was referred to BNF, but they're requesting $897,000 in free cash for the modular unit for the supervised consumption site. So that was referred out to BNF. I think it's going to be on Tuesday's agenda meeting. We have our FY24 budget in process. Karen and Lucy worked hard right before Karen left to make sure we submitted our level funding budget request to the city. And now the next process is working on our program improvement requests, or PIRs. And so Karen, Nancy, and I will have a powwow next week to kind of prioritize and identify those goals, you know, making sure that the PIRs align with our FY goals as well, so that we have that growth and kind of have it be aligned with our strategic planning and stuff with HHS.
Kelly,
yeah.
Could you talk a little bit, just like at the highest level? You know, I know that it was a big undertaking, just like, you know, descriptively what the budget kind of is. Is it like level funding from, you know, last year, and then maybe you guys are hoping, and I heard you mention like performance improvement. I don't know what that is and how that would play into the budget.
Yeah. So I'm learning it too, but there was a level funded request that was submitted, I think on the 3rd, but that also included increases in, you know, based on the economy and inflation and things like that. So it might be increases in salary weight, training lines, you know, professional development type items, equipment, that sort of thing. So there were increases in that end. And then there's this program improvement request process that nothing is guaranteed. This is my understanding, so, but nothing is guaranteed, but we can put forth to the administration initiatives that are not included in our level funding. So they would be maybe new, like brand new positions, brand new initiatives like Karen has here, like the vending machines. I think she might have spoken about this, the sanitary vending machines. So that is a request that came from City Councilor. And so that would be put on a PIR and it would come under the HHS budget. A contract for implementing a standing, these are examples, a standing warming center for our unhoused population. So right now it's in flux, it's as needed, that it's not a permanent position, that site location that we're using. So having a contract in place with an operator at a permanent location, you know, ideally would be during the entire winter months, not just as needed. So those are kind of brand new initiatives that that we would be asking for of the administration to approve and support.
Got it. So they kind of sound like you have your budget and then there's other, you know, projects that could be funded outside of the budget, kind of like an earmark, I guess, for a period of time. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, interesting to hear about some of those. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. And let's see what else she had listed here. Yeah, that was kind of it. And then we just informationally, we had our third warming center in operation this week. That was done in anticipation of the storm that was non-existent. But no, it was the weather was it met the threshold to open a warming center based on the forecast. And so the Somerville Homeless Coalition did a great job of operating that. They opened it to 17 unhoused folks at the Armory building, which is our current site of operation right now. So that was a great success for them. And then one of the last things that that I'm kind of working on too is we had received a determination of need grant from the Cambridge Health Alliance that comes from DPH, and it was for building a community health worker workforce. And so coming from my background of helping build a CHW program within a federally qualified health center, I wanted to tweak it a little bit. And so we finally got to the place where we're all in agreement of this new proposal, which is really building an on-ramp for a community health worker program so that we have a foundation and structure in place to then welcome our community health workers, so that we have the policies and protocols in place before we hire community health workers. So this initial kind of first wave is working with MACHWA, which is our Massachusetts CHW organization, as a technical assistance to offer their best practices, and also hiring a CHW program manager position that would really help with the design and planning of a CHW program that sits in the HHS structure. So that's kind of an exciting place for growth that can then hopefully be replicated across other departments in the city.
And Kelly, I'm sorry if I'm talking in a place of ignorance. This is community health workers. So you're looking to like set up infrastructure within HHS to like recruit, train, and onboard. Is it like new staff who are community health workers, or is it like, and then like what would a community health worker kind of do? Is this like a generalist, like social worker type, or yeah, I just want to know a little bit more about.
Sure. Yes. So yes to building that infrastructure. And currently with the grants, the way we wrote it, it has the availability to have two positions of CHW positions within year 2 and 3. And now I lost my train of thought. What was the second part of your question?
Yeah, it was, and then understanding the
what they do. Yes. So typically, and that's the kind of the challenge with CHWs is we ask a lot of them. to know everything about everything. So initially they would kind of be more of that generalist position, role. But ideally, we have our prevention services team that we might have one that might be a substance use disorder, CHW. We might have a food insecurity CHW. So there is potential for that growth, to have them be more concentrated. It could be chronic disease that goes out to the Council on Aging and addresses diabetes or hypertension. Those are my big kind of visions for that. But yeah, as a community health worker, I think it's a huge opportunity to involve our folks with lived experience from our marginalized populations to really have them be that trusted leader within those pockets of the community that, that they can speak the language, they understand the culture more than I can say. So I think it would be a great connection and community liaison to some really marginalized, vulnerable populations that are in Somerville.
Yeah, it's great that you love, the new ideas and the vision, Kelly. That's fantastic. I think, obviously you guys will just need to be mindful of like the DON funding will eventually, kind of fall off. I don't know how long the DON is. It's usually just
Right.
years, right? So.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And so our goal is to hopefully put them on the, at least with the program supervisor, which is a very important role within the program itself, is to have that like day-to-day person to help debrief difficult clients, visits, situations. So with that position, and then ideally at least 2 that would go on an operating budget.
Okay.
I know the administration is very supportive of such a program, so I'm hopeful that that it would, be supported beyond the life of the grant.
Thank you.
Yeah. That is all I have. If there was anything else from the board.
Robert, you asked good questions. When I was at the Cambridge Health Alliance, we had talked a lot about community health workers, so I feel like I have some concept of what the role is.
Yes, yeah, and we would be working with them to do the training, the CHW training. So Jamila over there is the coordinator for CHW's program.
And the only other comment I have about the sunsetting of some of the benefits that are happening with the end of the pandemic and the need to close the SNAP gap is, I just think there's sort of this philosophical question about different ways to run aid in various states. And so we've actually had a really interesting natural experiment of what happens if you increase the benefits. And, we've seen lifting children out of poverty. So I think it's just really important that we keep really clear data on what happens so that we can know. I mean, I think we have an inkling about where this is going to go, but I think the more data we have to sort of prove that different interventions, the better.
Yes, yeah. And I definitely think that's a good idea to even add to that stakeholder meeting, is to see what data are being collected within every organization to make sure that we are collecting the data will inform our interventions and stuff. So.
Yeah, were these jobs just posted on Somerville or Somerville.gov website, or?
Say it again.
The new jobs that you said that you guys were going to list, is that like on Somerville, like our Somerville webpage?
Yes, yeah. So the CHW stuff is not listed yet. We're still in the building of the job descriptions, and we still need to sign the contract. But
right.
But the other ones, so the youth coordinator, the case manager, I think it's going to be posted soon. I don't think it's posted yet because City Council just approved it, but the mental health manager position, I think it might still be open. But it will be posted in a variety, if you're asking about the CHW, a variety of places to make sure that we are recruiting from the populations we want to really be recruiting from.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I spoke before you guys got on. There was a Somerville resident that approached me about a variance a few days ago when I had told her it was too late because of legal matters. It needed to be in advance to add to the agenda. But I don't know. Are you here, Maria?
she may not be a presenter because I think only a limited number of us have the ability to talk.
Okay. Basically, she owns Mike's Restaurant, and she's had outdoor seating without an issue. But now I guess this year they are telling her she needs outdoor porta potties, which I'm actually not clear why she would need that. And I feel like I don't think it's a great idea. But so should I just have her email you, Kelly, or?
Yeah, I think I actually saw that email. I think what the issue is the increase in capacity. If there's more patrons utilizing their establishment, there needs to be an increase in the bathrooms. That's the only thing I can think of. But yeah, I think me, Karen will be back Monday, and Lucy, because I think Lucy can.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We could talk. I mean, obviously I heard her side too, but I'll give my feedback obviously on the next meeting because I guess I just don't have a clear understanding. And I don't know. Porta potties are just, I don't know. I just don't love them. I feel like they attract rodents and so forth. But again, we could just talk about that at the next meeting.
That's actually the agenda item. So next meeting is the next thing on the agenda. So are we meeting April 20th?
If we can modify, that's my wife's birthday, and probably should do something for her. Thursday evening. Can we do the 27th? Is that possible? I know, Paula, your calendar's pretty rock solid most of the time, but
No, it's fine.
okay. Brian, is that good with you?
I'm looking.
Okay.
I think it's okay.
Okay. So yeah, Kelly, if that's cool, Karen, yeah, the 27th, great.
Okay. All right.
And I know we didn't put it on the agenda for this time, but Robert, do you want to talk about the tobacco, the New Zealand next time?
We can certainly briefly, talk about it. I think, I'm always interested in new policy, especially, for tobacco control. It's, obviously an interesting one. Kelly, did Karen any chance we can give you I can give you the elevator, pitch that was thrown at us. PHAI, the Public Health Advocacy Institute, they're kind of like a public health think tank associated with Northeastern University, and they're interested in a lot of public health efforts, but in particular is tobacco control, and they've been helpful, and they've advocated a couple times for us, most recently at the vaping hearing that we had in 2019. So they recently worked with Brookline to implement essentially ban on anyone born after, I think, a certain date to purchase tobacco products, right? So essentially, it does away with, the minimum age, and instead it goes to a birth date, right? And so the theory is that eventually you're just going to have a smaller and smaller population eligible to purchase tobacco products. So obviously that's a great public health benefit. I think the other public health consideration is just like, implications on our retailers, right, which rely on a part of that sale. Does this create a market that may be unhealthy for people? So things to think about. Obviously, Brooklyn did it, and then New Zealand did it. So Brian, like my position is like, I just want to be in the research kind of like exploratory phase. So, if this is something Karen is interested in, maybe we can talk about it the next couple of meetings. PHAI volunteered to, bring in some, bring a voice and talk about it for a bit. So that's where my head's at, Brian. Just, I'd love to kick it around a bit, explore it, see if it has some wheels.
Okay, I think we can make it a request for the next meeting.
Okay.
Anything else?
Only to say, Kelly, great job running the show.
Thanks.
These meetings can be, they're meetings, but you did a
Right,
good job.
right.
So thank you for hosting.
Yes, thanks.
All right, 6:31. I call the meeting to adjourn.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you
Thank
next month.
Now I have to figure out how to stop it. Let me see. I think, do I just close it?